Hello, everyone. We are going to wait 5 minutes to see. There's probably more people that will join the webinar. So if you just have a little bit patient, we will be back in a few minutes. Just waiting for other people to log on because I knew there was more people that wanted to join the webinar. Great.
See you in a bit.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Kjetil,
My name is Daniella.
and we're gonna lead you through a little webinar today. It was supposed to be around 20 people that said they would come, but we are 5.
Maybe they will drop in
Yeah, we'll see.
Mm.
Hello, Audrey.
Hi, Audrey.
And Lena, hello. Erika.
Mm.
And I don't know who is iPad for. Is that Josephine?
Maybe.
Okay, so we will start with having a little bit silence together, just to land together in this webinar before we do the webinar. So if everyone can just close your eyes for a few minutes, and then just take a few breaths, and yeah, just notice how your breathing is today. Take a few deep breaths and fill your lungs and your belly with fresh and new air. And breathe out everything that you don't need to carry with you right now. And just feel that you're landing more and more wherever you are. Relax your face and your neck and your shoulders. Relax your spine and your belly, sacrum, and your feet. Just feel your feet under you. Maybe you can visualize that you have big, deep roots going from your feet and down into Mother Earth. These roots that are connecting you to Mother Earth and grounding you. You can feel that you're becoming more and more silent inside of you. You can feel your belly and feel your heart. What is going on inside you right now? How is your breathing, and what's the emotions that's running through you right now? Just try to visualize it, not try to feel it. Just feel what's there in this moment. Feel your feelings. Feel your breath. Feel your connection to Mother Earth. And the connection to your own heart. And slowly you can come back, open your eyes. If you want to join with the video, you do that. And if you want to, it's good if you turn off your microphone when you're not speaking. so there is not so much background noise. So welcome again, everyone. In this webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about our journey into the craniosacral work and, yeah, how we experience this magical work and why we love to share it with the world. And we will also talk about the method itself, of course. We will go into what we call the breath of life and the primary respiration and art of listening. And we will share with you how this method is a deep healing, and it's a method for deep healing and personal and spiritual growth, and also how the road from ancient indigenous traditions to modern science, how this work is like a bridge between these two different worlds. And in the end, we will talk about the craniosacral study program that we offer in Norway and now in Sweden also for the first time. And yeah, in the end, we will give you a little self-healing method. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking forward to taking you through the journey. So we're going to start with our history, just for you to get to know us a little bit, because for some of you, we see your face, your name for the first time. So we're going to share with you how we came to do this work and how we came together in this field. You want to start?
Yeah, I can start. You see the pictures here? So you can see me in a sami dress in one of the pictures. This, I think I'm 9 years old at that time when this picture is taken. So as you understand, then I'm from the Sami people. So I grew up way above the Arctic Circle in a very cold and you can say a little bit hostile climate.
A little bit.
Little bit.
Tiny bit.
Tiny bit. So it was a rough upbringing, but what was good with it was that I was very connected to nature. You know, when you live up there, it's not much that happening. So we spend a lot of time in nature. And for those of you who doesn't know the Sami culture, we are like not anymore so much, but we're like a semi-nomadic people. We follow nature. Before we followed it all year round. We were fishermen. We were doing reindeer and yeah, hunting and stuff like that. So a few hundred years ago, we started to live more based on one place, and more of us started to assimilate into the Western society. And today we live like Norwegians and Swedish and Finnish like other people, but we have also our own culture and our own language. And our culture is what we can say originally a shamanic culture. So for us, we see nature as a holy place. Nature is our church, you can say. So when I grew up, I didn't go much to church. Even a lot of Samis are Christian today, but we learned from early age to appreciate nature and to be in nature and to be in silence in nature. So that's one of the good things that I got from my upbringing in the north. I had an aunt that was what we call an Waidi, a Sami shaman, that very early started to teach me about the spirit world and connection with nature and stuff like that. But when I was a kid, I didn't pay much attention to that. I wanted to go my own way, but she always told me that sooner or later you're going to go this way, Kjetil, so pay attention.
This shamanic way.
Yeah, the shamanic way.
Mm.
And when I was like in my teens, I moved to the south and I started another life. Worked in restaurant business and sales business, and yeah, lived my life, trying to fit into a society. Coming from the north and being a little bit wild, I didn't felt like I was fitting in. I tried, but it was hard for me. And even I had success, I kind of felt empty in the city. I became more and more depressed, and yeah. In the end, I was so unhappy that I was like almost giving up my life. And one day I was lying on my floor and crying and said that I can't have this life anymore. It has to stop. And yeah, I was very out of myself, you can say. I was very depressed. And just a couple of, and it was like a prayer. I was lying on the floor and I prayed for something more to come to me or my life to change. And a couple of weeks later, there was a healer from the north standing on my steps, my doorsteps, and he had got a message that he had to come to me and that he had to meet me and help me. And it was very strange because we felt like we knew each other, even we had never met before. And yeah, he showed me the first, showed me the way into the spiritual work and helped me to open up. And I had, after a few months, I had like a kind of an awakening where I started to understand who I was. I started to remember my history. I started to remember why I am here in this body on earth right now. And yeah, my life changed fully, totally. It was like total transformation in a very short time. And I started to look for tools how I can help people to find themselves and to heal themselves. And because I knew that was what I'm gonna do in this life. So I came across craniosacral work just by a coincidence. I had I wanted to start a course in a school in another therapy form, and
It was like polarization
yeah,
therapy.
polarity therapy, and it's also have roots in craniosacral work, but there was not enough participants in this course for the course to start, and the principal at that school, he called me and said, Kjetil, you have to come down to my office and we have to talk about this because this course is not going to start, but I have something else for you. I want you to look at it. And I went down to the school, to this office, and there was an old guy sitting smoking a cigar, and I thought that was a little bit weird in a school that was about health and therapy and stuff like that. But yeah, and then he handed over like a paper, small paper to me, and he said, we are going to start another education. It's about craniosacral therapy. And I was like, Cranio what? Was a weird name, never heard about it before. And he said, just read this paper and see what you think about it. And I was reading that paper, and as I was reading it, something came over me. It just felt like right for me. And after reading this one page, I said to him, yes, I'm in. I'm going to do this. Because there was like something inside me. I didn't know what, but it said, yes, do it. This is your way. So yeah, I started this course, and yeah, never looked back since that. This is like 2006, I think. So that was my road into this work. And I started to work with a Danish man first. I'm going to come back to that a little bit later. Yeah.
Well, my story is not as dramatic as Kjetil's story. I grew up in the north of Sweden, and with a mother that lived the Sami culture, but never called it Sami culture. She brought me out into the nature at least once a week, more times a week. And we slept under the stars, and we learned she taught me how to connect with nature and how to be a nature child without me knowing that was going on. But when I grew older, I started to see that my life was quite different from the other kids in my town, and started to realize that my connection with nature was helping me in so many ways to understand other spirits, not only trees and stones and fish and bears, but human beings, even though they are a little bit weird, I thought as a child, because humans are messy. And from that, I grew up in this small little town, and when I grew older and was in my teens, I moved to the south, just as Kjetil did, and the culture crash was quite harsh. I didn't have many friends because I couldn't connect to them because they were never in nature. So nature became my refuge, refuge place. Do you call it that? And lived my life. And I met craniosacral work a few years ago, 3 years ago from now. I've been on this road not as long as you have, but I love it nonetheless. And I think it's a beautiful way to not only connect with yourself, but bring yourself into nature, which we have like disconnected from nature in so many ways. And craniosacral work gives us at least me, it gives me the feeling of that I am connected with everything, both humans and nature. And it gives a feeling of you not being so alone. You're a part of a bigger wave, a bigger field, and part of the earth.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, this I've been doing this work, as I said, for like 17 years or something, 16 years now. And in the beginning, I had a Danish teacher, and already in the beginning, like during my education, I became almost like a assistant teacher, because I felt it was like this was very natural for me. When I touched the body, I could feel the rhythm, the frequencies, the waves, everything right away. It was like I've done this before, so it went very fast for me in the beginning, and I never met anyone that took it so fast before I met Daniella. It was like that for you also.
Yeah. It's just the voice of nature, and if you know nature, you know cranial work in a way.
Yeah. So we have I have developed this method that we use over time. I had many different teachers. We're going to come back to them a little bit soon. But what we try to do is to bring the connection between the indigenous shamanic work and the connection with nature. We try to use it as a method for finding our peace or finding connection with our soul, and self-growth and spiritual growth. So it's not just only a therapy, it's a road to inner peace. And in my how I see it is that if we're going to have peace in the world, we need to start with peace inside ourselves first. So that's the bigger goal with this work.
The gold or the goal, or both?
Both, actually.
The gold mine.
Yeah, the gold mine. Yeah. So let's see. Yes, my first teacher was Nils Andersen. He was a Danish guy. He was taught up in the Upledger tradition and the biodynamic tradition. So, yeah, he was like immediately I felt he was like a father to me, and he took me under his wings and yeah, brought me right into it. But unfortunately, he died after. Yeah, I was not even finished with the education before he had an accident and he drowned. And then we got another teacher that was his friend, who was Mogens Knudsen, who was also a Danish man. He had been trained in Upledger tradition also, but he was working much more with the Alangihin. It's a French tradition that is more manipulative work. So
more like almost chiropractic.
yeah, osteopathic, chiropractic. But Nils was more the one was listening to the energies and more subtle rhythms, and Mogens was more the physical, taught me the physical stuff and how to manipulate the body and the cranium and all these things, and everything was very good. But Mogens, his Danish language was a little bit strange for Norwegian people to understand, because this was in Norway. And so many of the people in the class, they didn't understand what Mogens was saying. So but I did understand him, and I also understood the work very good. It was like natural for me. So I became like an assistant teacher for him right away, to try to explain in other words for people and so he gave space for me right away, actually, to come to participate. And the year after I finished the school, he suggested that we start together and a new school, and I was his assistant teacher, and for 3 years we were teaching together this work. But I felt that very early, I felt that there was more to it. There was something missing. I couldn't get the whole picture. It was like, because I had very strong intuition and visions, and I could feel energies and movements, and there was things that from my past, like the shamanic tradition I grew up in, that I also wanted to kind of connect to this work. And I started to look around in the world for different teachers, and I ended up with a book that called Visionary Craniosacral Work, or The Heart of Listening by Hugh Milne, that is about the visionary craniosacral work. And I was amazed. I said, wow, he's made
this is it.
Yeah, this is it. He made a book already. This is what I'm looking for. So as soon as I booked myself into a workshop with him, and
You booked a one-way ticket.
One-way ticket, no.
And you haven't returned yet.
I haven't returned. This was in 2010, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we still go and visit Hugh like every year, both of us, because Hugh is also my teacher. And
yeah. So he helped me to connect everything together in a beautiful way. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a little bit about the teacher and the lineage.
Yeah.
How we came here.
Yeah. So I will a little bit more about the lineage is that.
Yeah.
It's okay. So we can start with where it all started, in a way, because craniosacral work comes out of what we call osteopathy. Osteopathy in English, yeah. And osteopathy comes out of what we call bone setters. That this is shamans all over the world. We can find traces of shamans that could see inside your body, and see inside your heart, and correct your bones and your muscles and everything. amazing ways. We can find it in North America, we can find it in India, in Russia, in New Zealand, everywhere we can find traces of these bone setters.
Yeah, it was what we had on this earth before we had doctors, you know, and physicians, and before we put names on everything, we had people who could see, who could feel, who could go into your field and feel what was bothering you.
Yeah. And what we see today is that even there is a straight line back to that. It's kind of in many of the craniosacral traditions today, we kind of lost the connection to the shamanic culture, and that's one of the things that it's important for us to bring it back. So there's a full circle, but it's also important for us that we connect to the modern science, and so that this is not just some old things that people have been doing forever without even thinking about it. It's like we can prove it today we with modern science that it's working, what we're doing. Yeah. So
the father of osteopathy, his name was Andrew Taylor Still, and he was living his life as a pioneer and a philosopher, and in the US in the 1828 in Janesville, Virginia. And he spent his formative years in northern Missouri with where his preacher physician father was sent out as a missionary. And Andrew learned medicine by apprenticeships, and his first patients were actually Shawnee Indians, so native people on the reservation in Kansas. He learned their language and lived his life by a similar nature-centered belief system, just as we do in Sapmi. So that's I find that interesting, that the father of osteopathy, who is still the osteopathy tradition who we still see today, he was actually taught up by natives. Yeah.
And after him, one of his best students, William Garner Sutherland, was what we call the father of craniosacral work. He was the first man who started to work with the cranium in that way that we can recognize the craniosacral work. He saw that there was something moving inside the body.
Who moved the bones. Something that moved the bones and the body.
You can read this maybe.
So this is a quote from him. He lived from 1873 to 1954. And he says, "Within the cerebrospinal fluid, there is an invisible element that I refer to as the breath of life. I want you to visualize this breath of life as a fluid within the fluid, something that does not mix, something that has potency as the thing that makes it move. It is really necessary to know. Is it really necessary to know what makes the fluid move? Visualize a potency, an intelligent potency that is more intelligent than your own human mentality." So what is he saying here, actually? Well, my feeling is that he's trying to explain what moves through us all and what connects us all. And he calls it the breath of life.
There's something bigger than us that's moving us. And it's very funny because we humans, we think that we are supreme. We think that we are doing everything ourselves in a way, but maybe there is another greater intelligence that is moving us to do what we do. So, but in craniosacral work, we call it the breath of life, and in shamanic work, we call it the spirit and prana. We can call it chi in Japan, chi in China.
We can call it God.
In God, in the Christian tradition, is all pointing to the same thing. something that's everywhere, and something that connects everyone and everything. And of course, in we can understand craniosacral work only from an anatomical place, but the magic is starting to happen when we start to realize this, that there is something that is moving us. There is something that creates patterns and rhythms and frequencies. So this something, the breath of life or the spirit, is the same thing that's moving inside us, that moves the waves in the ocean, that makes the fire move or burn. It's the same thing that makes the sky move and the grass grow. Yeah. It's the same thing. And this, if we can recognize these things, we can learn how to recognize how the breath of life is moving inside a human being.
And it all sounds very mystical right now. It's hard to explain. It's easier to say what it's not, what it isn't, than what it is, because we don't have language for it yet. We are starting to develop language for it, but it's hard to explain. So the best we can do is maybe look into poetry and look into nature. But when you lay your hands upon someone's body, it's quite distinct.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to recognize the rhythm within a person when you get really still, and when you just go into your hands with your focus. You can really feel this rhythm, just as you can feel the rhythm of the heart beating and the rhythm of your lungs. You can feel the craniosacral rhythm or the breath of life.
So every living organism has what we call a torus, a field, or aura, or it's an energetic body, or a field that's around us. And in craniosacral work, we recognize that. But the thing we can say that in traditional healing, we work with the field outside the body. But in craniosacral work, we work with the field inside the body more. Because we have the understanding that so within, so without. So when we work with the central channel of a human body, we work with the whole body and with the whole field, actually.
So we believe if you change what is in the center, everything that moves from the center will change as well. Someone, I don't remember who said this quote, but it's a good quote. Everything that moves comes from the center. So instead of going and starting in the muscles and starting to manipulate and work with the muscle, we go into the main channel, the spine and the brain and the cranium, and we work with the bones, and we work with the cerebrospinal fluid in the spine. And from that, mostly everything else that is outside of the spine will change when the spine changes.
So instead of doing a lot of work outside or instead of, like, when you have some symptoms in your body, you will probably go to a doctor, or like a physician, a physiotherapist or something, and they will start to work a lot with your muscles, do massage, change things in your body, move it, push it, pull it, stretch it, and all these things, very, very, very physical. So they start from without, and they are working themselves into the center. But in the craniosacral work, it's opposite. We start in the center. We start to listen to the spirit. We start to listen to the subtle energies that is flowing through the central channel of your body. And from there, when we connect with that,
and we listen to that,
then magic starts to happen. And many times I work with people that they come to me with different symptoms, most of them, and after they've been with me a couple of times, they forget that they even had the symptoms. You know, it's very strange. It's like we are not like a symptom-based therapy. We're not focusing on the symptoms, and in Norway at least, it's even not allowed to talk about the diagnosis and stuff like that. So we don't do that, but people come with that, and we don't promise anything, but we start working with them, and we start to see the potency inside every human being, and then all these symptoms and diagnosis and everything have like a tendency to just fade away.
It's like if we can put it in more easy words, we see symptoms as a scream or a voice that's saying something, and we're not interested in the scream. We're interested in who is speaking or who is screaming, and trying to reach that point, that soul, and see that soul, and then the screaming will stop, hopefully.
So yeah, as we said, every living thing has a torus, a field, a pulsating field of energy that vibrates.
Electromagnetic field.
You can say also, yeah. So a lot of the work, craniosacral work that we do is actually about non-doing. It's about sensing. It's about developing your own senses so you can learn to communicate with that spirit or that breath within. Actually.
So we're actually de-learning. We are trying to de-learn, one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
So here you see the an example of waves and frequencies, and the torus that's around the person, and also the connection with divinity and Mother Earth, the vertical, we call it the vertical connection, and the horizontal connection.
So a lot of the work actually is to deconnect with this horizontal plane and develop a connection to in this plane, you know, to Earth and to the universe, because when we do, it's like life becomes a lot richer in a way, and it becomes less dramatic. And
you see the horizontal torus that's around the person. That's where all the drama is happening. That's where all the sticky stuff, all the connections with other people, that's where that happens. And when you can come into you can meditate. There's a lot of ways to come there, but cranio is when you get the help from another person is touching you from pure love and without judgment, and guides you toward that vertical line, guides you toward your home, on the line between heaven and earth, where you're supposed to live. At least according to us.
Yeah. It's hard to explain, but the quality of life is really changing when we change that connection. So we are talking a lot about frequencies and waves and stuff like that, and it's hard for someone to really grasp what are we talking about, you know. So if we look at water, for example, we can say we have a lot of different waves. That's like frequencies in a way. We can have a long tide, a long wave, like the one we see on top here, on the left side. Is what we call a long tide. We can have like small waves coming into land. And it can also be like stormy waves, like the one down to the right. So all this, I'm having this picture because how to explain, how can we feel it? Because when we put our hands on the body, it feels like waves, like ocean waves inside the body. And that's our way to kind of diagnose people and to feel where is the blockages, what's going on inside this person. And so by training our fingers to sense these waves inside the body, because humans are like 80% water. And when we connect to the water inside the body, we know most of the body. We may not be able to explain everything, but we can sense it, we can feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's easier if you connect it to nature, because everyone have seen nature.
So we can put it this way, like normally most people, they can only feel this when you feel, for example, when you feel you're stressed, you can feel that you're vibrating, you're stressed. So normally we can feel that because that's on the surface, it's like, maybe if you are really stressed, you can feel your heartbeat, you can even shake like that. So no, when we put our hands on the body of a person, we can feel this stress, but that's just on the surface. When we sink a little bit more down, we come to another rhythm that we call the cranial rhythm. This is more the nervous system, the connection to the nervous system, to the mental element inside our body, to the brain, these things. And when we keep sinking with that person, we can come down, we can feel the fluid tide that is connected to the emotions, the water in the body, and we can even sink down to long tide, and we can feel these more fundamental waves that exist inside a human body.
Yeah, and connects from long tide and downwards, the breath of life, long tide, and dynamic stillness is also what connects us to everything else.
So when we take time to just sink together with a human being, it's like we come back to this original state of being.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest gifts you can give someone.
Yeah,
and all of these, what's easy for a human is to think linear, like, okay, first comes stress, then comes the cranial rhythm, but at least my truth is that all of these, and there's more waves, it's not only these 6, all of this exists in the same time. And it's about craniosacral work helps you to change perspective. Can you say that? Perspective.
Perception and perspective.
Perception and perspective. To bring someone into the different parts of themselves, because maybe a person have lived in their stress wave or their stress frequency for years, and it's been maybe a half of a life they have felt long tide, they have felt their connection to divinity. And what a gift that you can guide them to change perception and go into another state of themselves that's already there, it's already happening, but they lost contact with it. So Cranio helps you to go there,
reconnect.
It's like a guide.
So all of these rhythms, all of these frequencies are arising from what we call potency. It's like the picture here is a silent water, and it seems on the surface that this is like, it feels like it's stillness, but at the same time it's not really still. It's a great potency in this ocean, and this potency exists inside every human being. So this is what we are digging for.
Chihaya, the ocean of chi.
So we have been talking a lot about
the mystical stuff,
the energy and the frequency and stuff, but craniosacral is not only about that, because if we're going to understand the mystics of life, and if we're going to understand all this, we also need to connect it to something solid,
something you can see and touch, to give you some hooks to put the information on.
So what's different between craniosacral work and like other healing methods, you can say, is that we work on the whole spectrum, from the subtle frequencies to the solid mechanics inside the body. So this is the craniosacral system. So we work
like we need to specify what is it that we're working on and what's our specialty, and this is it. We work with the cranium, the head, and all the 22 bones of the head. Like most people, when they think of a cranium, they think of it as one solid thing, like one bone, the cranium, but it's actually a lot of parts that put together with something called sutures. And all of these parts move. And if you ask me, all of these parts has their own personality. And you can talk to them just as you can talk to a person or an animal. We work with the cerebrospinal fluid. That's the fluid that's in your spine and around your brain. And that fluid is the part you can feel the craniosacral rhythm in that fluid. We work with the brain, not directly on the brain because we're not
doing surgery.
Surgeries. We're not yeah, but we're working with it energetically from outside the head, sometimes with pressure but mostly energetic, in an energetic way. We work with the membranes of the head, the part that holds it all together and stabilize it. We work with the spine, or we call it the core link, and the sacrum. The sacrum is the part that's in the hip. And we, of course, we work with the whole body, the muscles, the bones, the organs, the glands, the meridians, acupuncture points, and so on. But we have to, we have to specialize on something, and that's the points above that we're good at.
So when you learn, or when you train to become a craniosacral worker, you have to learn a lot about the craniosacral system anatomically, because for me it's like when you can really connect everything into that system, it all makes a lot of sense. When you can connect the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual and the mental stuff all together in a way.
Yeah, and it's like for some people it's just natural, like Kjetil says, and a lot of kids as well, they see ghosts and they see when people, how they really feel, they see a lot of what's true in life. So for some people this makes so much sense, but for most of us who have a brain that's running our lives, the brain needs something to chew on, like some information to make sense of it all. And that's why you do anatomy, to have your brain on the train when you're educating yourself. Yeah.
I don't know how it is with time now. Yeah. Have to move on. So to sum up everything a little bit, so craniosacral work is a very client-based work. It's not me who is healing you. I am facilitating your healing. Yeah. That's important.
The client brings the session. The client is the boss, and you're just listening and holding space.
It's not about what I know or what I can do or how amazing I am or whatever. It's about listening to you or listening to the client, so you can find that potency inside the client, and the client can be given a space where it's safe and where they can do work with themselves, where they can find themselves. So it's a lot about holding space for other people.
Yeah.
So it's not just like a therapy. It's really a method for personal and spiritual growth. We see it again and again and again. People changed a lot when they do this work.
Yeah.
And it's not just touching, it's a lot of visionary work. It's we work a lot with developing our intuitive channels, like the inner eye, the inner ear, the empath channel, etc., etc. So there's many channels. In the Vedic they say that humans have 108 senses, but we say that we have 5 senses or something, 6 senses in the...
Well, science has actually discovered and put name on, I think, 33 or something.
Yeah. And we work with a handful of these senses like that we call intuitive channels. A lot. We also do like shamanic work. We work with rituals and ceremonies. We go into mythology, not so much outer mythology, but more the inner mythology, because your body is like a fairy tale in a way.
It knows the stories.
It knows the stories. So we help people to connect to their own stories, their own fairy tales, or inside themselves. So yeah, so their life can be richer. You can say, yeah.
And one thing that I think is really important with this work is that you get touch, and you get respectful touch, and you get touch because in the world today, a lot of the touch that you see on television, it's either about sex or it's violence. So to experience this respectful and loving touch, only that in itself is true healing. To get someone who they don't want anything from you, they're not touching you to get something, they're touching you to say, I'm here for you, I'm giving you space, and you can do whatever you want. I will not judge you. My touch will not judge you.
And that's like when we talk about our relationship also, it's like you can use this touch also to enrich your relationships. When you have relationships that you can touch and be touched without that must lead to something.
Yeah.
Or you want something, or it's just touch. It's neutral, but it's loving and kind touch. It's magic, actually.
Yeah,
it is. It's enriching the life so much.
And well, of course, when you are being touched in this loving way without judgment, you can start to process. You can start to process and do emotional healings. You can start to process your traumas, and you can start to bring out that psychotic corner in yourself, that darkness that you don't dare to show anyone. You can start to bring that out when you feel safe, when someone is holding space for you and not judging you and seeing you.
So yeah, a lot of the work is also about emotional healing, to allowing the emotions to flow, the emotions to be recognized, like when someone holds space for you, and you can feel whatever there is to feel with no judgments. No one is gonna, we grow up in a society where already from you are newborn, if you cry, someone's tried to stop you. No, you can't cry, and it's rare that your parents really can just be there with you when you cry, or when you feel your feelings, or whatever it is. So a lot of this work is also that, to enter into the emotional body and listen to it, and allowing it to just express itself. So you can say a lot of traumas. We're working a lot with trauma healing. So a lot of traumas is emotional traumas. It's arrested emotions. We are used to talk about traumas. That's okay. Something happened to you, like you crashed with a car, or you fell off a roof, or whatever, and there's a physical trauma. But we don't talk so much about these emotional traumas that we all are carrying around. And when we don't talk about them, and we put them away and we suppress them, they become like we call this psychotic corner of our being, And when these dark corners in our system is threatened, we start war, So this, I will say that a lot of the wars going on in the world today is about emotional traumas that
not being healed.
Yeah. So
here you can see it in action. So it's really about seeing each other fully and wholly, seeing without judgment. And the healing is in the seeing. So many people just wish to be seen. And if you can give them that in itself is true healing.
Yeah. So the reason we are here today is that we are starting up this education in Sweden. We started in Norway also now, but also this first time in Sweden, and our education is 9 modules over 2 years. And the first, 6th of October, we are starting in Shambala gathering in Sweden with the first module. And in this first module, we will go into the basics of the craniosacral techniques. We will work a lot with meditation and expanded states of consciousness, learning how to go into different meditative states, into trance and stuff like that. And we will work to find our balance point, so that we have like a place to work from. We can stand in balance in ourselves.
A grounded place.
A ground place. We will work with craniosacral anatomy and learn how to tune into the client. He's starting to develop these intuitive skills, learning how to tune into the energy field and to see what's behind.
To see what's really, really there. Behind the surface of the persona, the surface of the masks we put on in this world, to see beyond that. And
how we can uncover these imbalances in another person's system. So this is the first module, and 6th to 9th October in Shambala gatherings. So there is more modules.
There we go.
So module 2, we go into the biodynamic approach.
There's a little bit of different approaches from the manually mechanic craniosacral work, the biodynamic, and what we are trained in, the visionary. Well, you are trained in all 3 of them, but I'm only trained in the visionary approach.
But the visionary approach contains
the other
all them, because it's about seeing, not a specific technique.
So the second module is about the biodynamic approach.
So third module, we go into unwinding. That is like really...
That's crazy. Then we go crazy.
It's super effective healing work. Trauma healing work, somatic trauma healing work. We letting the body express itself through movement, so it can become free. Unwinding, it's like untangling. It's like unwinding all the
knots in your system.
In the system.
It's a wonderful module. And we also do, in that module, we also do forehand work and sometimes more. So you get to experience how it is to have 2 people or maybe more people working on you at the same time. And that's really good if you're really a mental person, like you want to understand everything from the head. If you have 4 or more hands on you, you can't keep track, like you have to surrender. It's really good.
And we will also go more into the shamanic approach and working with the nature elements in that module. Module 4 is foundation work. We work with the pelvis, grounding. It's a lot about grounding.
The hips, the legs, to get you connected to the earth, the heart of Gaia, the heart of Mother Earth.
So we will also work a lot with perception and meridians, organs, glands. Module 5 is spine work.
Spinal work.
Spinal work.
Maybe.
So we will in that module we will go into a lot of work with the neck, for example. A lot of people have problem with the neck.
Whiplash injury, and we will work with the jaw and everything connected to the neck and the spine, which carry a lot of weight in daily life. So it's a nice module to get the spine moving.
The 6th module is we call it the shamanic heart. It's about opening up the empathic understanding and understand the empathic language. So it's a lot heart work, chakra work, and we also do ceremonial work.
Yeah.
And we do something that is called Shamanic Heart Constellations. That is really truly a magical work. It's changed lives, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't want to say so much about it. You need to experience that, because it's anyone who have done constellation work know how effective this is.
Yeah.
But in this case, you don't make a constellation with other people. You make a constellation with your own heart.
4 people representing your heart. And in this module, I think we also learn how to protect our energy field, how to cut cords, how to, right?
Yeah.
This and the 7th.
Yeah.
How to learn how to clean. Do you say it? No, not clean yourself, but to get back into your own field. Because when we in relationships, what we see is usually we get so messy. We don't know what is yours, what is mine. And the empathic work that we do, it really helps us to see, is this mine? Is this from me, or is this from my mother or my father or my brother or my friend? That's good for daily life.
Yeah,
to know
it is.
That.
So many times we go around and carrying other people's stuff. It's like we let other people move into our house and our garden, and we need to learn how to distinguish this and understand, okay.
Boundaries.
Yeah, boundaries. Yeah. For many years, I've always been like a natural empath, and for so many years, my whole upbringing and until like late 20s or beginning of 30s, I many times I felt really like shit. And I thought all these feelings and all this, what I'm carrying, all this I'm feeling is mine. But then I did understand that, oh, I'm like open. I don't have a fence in my garden. So I go on and carry, and everyone can just jump.
Everyone can use your water and your hose and camp in your yard.
Yeah. So I go around carrying other people's emotions and stuff. And when I started to understand this, that changed my life so much. Yeah, really.
In the 7th module, we work with the Vishnu's eye. So it's a lot of the visionary work in this module with the facial bones and the sphenoid. That's the central bone in the head, the dreaming bone. We're balancing the 3rd eye. We're understanding the concept of perception, and we also learn how to interpret and understand our visions and
Yeah.
clairvoyance.
The 8th module is authentic expression. In this module, we're starting to connect everything that we have learned during these 7 modules before, and starting to come into some kind of mastery of craniosacral work. Of course, you're not a master after 8 modules. That takes 10,000 hours.
Then you're a beginner.
Yeah, but but in that module, we start to connect things and go. Yeah, and so we also we go more into reading. You get reading from all of your fellow students. Like it's like a group reading that is super powerful that we do. And we have also what we call client coaching, Vaima client coaching. Vaima means heart in South Sami. That's the name of our company also. And this is like a heart coaching where you guide your client from the heart, or in contact to answer. No, not to answer. We ask the question so that the client can find the answer inside their own heart. So yeah. And the 9th module is about holding space.
Yeah.
It's not like new work. You participate in one of the 8 modules you already have taken as a student, but you join the teacher team and you're like an assistant teacher, and you're learning the sacred art of holding space for other people on their healing journey.
This is the 9th module is new for this year, because we see how powerful it is for you to change perspective. not being the student anymore, in the sense of that you're there to learn anatomy and study, but now you step out of the student shoes in a way, and you join the group field, and you learn how to hold the field and to work with big groups, because we have groups with around 20 people, and you learn how to distinguish what is happening, what is moving in the big field, not only in my field, my little sphere, but you learn to like what we said in the with the waves, that you can learn to distinguish, okay, now I'm in stress wave, now I'm in long tide. This is the same. Now I'm in my personal experience. Okay, now I go out into the group field and I see what's happening in the group field. This is what the 9th module is about.
Yeah. The ninth module you can take several times also.
Yeah. Good.
Good. So module 1 starts 6th October. Shambala gatherings in Sweden, 2 hours from Stockholm.
3 weeks from now, actually. Something like that.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yeah.
So if you already know that I want to join, I just made a bonus for you. If you sign up within 48 hours for module 1, only module 1 in Sweden, you will have a free craniosacral sessions from me or Daniella.
Wow, I didn't know that.
No, you didn't. I just made it up.
Okay, cool, cool. I'm with you on that. Don't leave me hanging.
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
So we go into Q&A now. If anyone has a question, you can just unmute, or if you want to say anything, you can just share now. We went over time with 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
We're also going to remember to give them this self-healing technique in the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we can take the questions first.
Mm.
If there is any questions or comments. You can just unmute yourself if you have a comment.
Yeah.
I loved how articulate you were. I'm a friend, I'm a colleague of, and also kind of like a client of Vaima and Kjetil. And I was just curious, like, what you find difficult in the work, or how people, what you find are like kind of the most common misunderstandings.
Projections.
Projection. What's
I would
difficult?
say
Projections.
projection is difficult in this word. It's like what we say when we, on the 8th module, you learn how to distinguish what is yours and what is mine. And in this work, because it's high advanced stuff to know that, because we are not taught that in school. We are not taught that from our parents, like what's yours and what's my emotions. So I find that that can be challenging to stay neutral and stay in a place of listening, and not going into like, I'm gonna fix you, or I'm gonna help you, or I'm gonna do anything to you. No, it's about standing back, and yeah, that can be challenging for groups and for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You?
Yeah. No, I find that I agree with you. Yeah. So Erica is saying, I met an osteopath that said craniosacral therapy can work for trigeminus and
neuralgia.
Yeah.
Is this something you recognize? Neuralgia, what is that?
I don't know what neuralgia is, but we definitely work with trigeminus.
Yeah, we work with trigeminus.
We work with all the cranial nerves.
Oh,
so it will, it can help. I don't say it will, never. Yeah. So it's nerve pain triggered in the trigeminus.
Yeah. We work with nerves.
That's a classical thing that Cranio helps with.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
So nice to see your pictures. I would love to see Erica as well. Maybe she won't want to share. Well, did any of it make sense to you? Like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was a beautiful articulation. I mostly came just to hear how you articulate this stuff, because even though I've been studying it for a couple of years, you're right. It's much easier to say what it's not, but it's it can be hard for me to articulate what it is. And I thought you did it in a really clear way, and I liked your images.
Thank you.
Great.
It's very nice to see you again, Audrey.
Yeah,
You're welcome to Norway anytime, anytime you want.
I know. I'm ready. I'm ready for my cozy and chic Norway experience.
Lena.
Yeah. Lena, do you have any
Yes.
questions? I've seen your smile many times during and nothing, not a lot of
Nothing.
telling a lot of things.
Yeah, I just want to say hi and thank you for all the information. It's so far I've just experienced craniosacral and from Johan and Lotta in Shambala, and it has been so life-changing for me. So yeah, it's just very interesting to hear about that and to tap into that knowledge for the first time from that perspective you shared today. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome. Okay.
That's great.
Mm.
Okay, let's go into the
Self-healing technique.
yeah. We're gonna share a little technique that we use.
Okay, so just close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Just listen to your breathing for a moment. How is your breath today? Is it fast, slow? Is it heavy, light? Is it playful? Is it serious? How is your breath? How is your relationship to spirit moving through you? The breath of life moving through you. We can also say, how our spirit breathing you today? Because most of the time, it's not you breathing, it's something breathing you. Because you're not deciding the breaths. Most of the time, it's just happening. So just listen to that. And breathe down into your heart chakra. You put your left hand on your heart chakra and your right hand on top of that. You start breathing into your hands and into your heart. Activating your hands. 7 deep breaths, like breathing into heart and hands. So when you're breathing into your heart, you make like an imaginary circle. Like when you breathe in, you draw your energy from your heart and out in your arms and into your hands. And when you breathe out, it's like the energy goes from your hands and inside your heart. Like 2 circles. Breathe in, energy goes out in the arms and into the heart, into the hands. Breathe out, energy goes from hands into heart. And you may feel that you're starting to be warm in your hands, more sensitive in your hands. Now you can release your hands from the heart, but stay present in your heart. And then you find a place on your body where you have pain or stiffness, or and a place in your body that needs attention from you. For example, I feel my right shoulder, some pain here. So I put my hands on, very gentle, I put my hands, or both hands, on that place on my body. And I start to breathe into that place. It's like the energy goes from your heart and through your arms, into your hands, and into that place in your body. And you start to listen to that pain or whatever is there in your body. You start to listen to it with your hands. Maybe the pain becomes stronger, or maybe it fades away. Maybe you can find that it's moving this place, even if it's your shoulder or your neck or your forehead or whatever it is. Maybe you can feel that something is moving under your hands. There's a rhythm, a movement, a wave. Try just to listen to that wave with your hands, and don't worry if you can't feel that. Just try to feel the warmth or the energy or whatever you can feel there with your hands. And remember, let the energy flow from your heart and into your arms and to that place in your body that needs your attention. Keep breathing. Just be there. Breathe through your hands and into that place in your body. Maybe you will feel that the tension releases. Maybe the area will get warm. You will feel like a tingling feeling or something like that. Or it gets cold, maybe also possible. Or you can feel that this rhythm, this pulse is getting stronger, changing. Just stay in silence for a few minutes. You're not trying to fix anything. You're just listening to your body with your hands. Just feeling, giving love and kind touch to yourself. How does it feel? What's happening inside you when you provide yourself with that? Keep breathing. Keep feeling. Stay with yourself. Let the energy flow from your heart through your arm and into that place. At the same time as you listen. How is your breathing changing, and how is the rest of you changing when you do this? Take a few more deep breaths. Release your hands from that place. Could you feel the rhythm, the wave, or the heat, or the energy? Did something happen, not only in that place, but maybe your whole body became more quiet or still, because you were giving yourself attention for a few minutes? So this was just like a very short session, but try to sit with yourself like that for half an hour, for example, and see what happens to you. Take time to just sit with your pain or with your tensions, or But-
with your joy.
with your joy also, whatever is there. Mm.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you all
Mm.
here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we're hoping to see you live soon, maybe.
Thank you. We're so honored to hear you share.
Thank you, Audrey. So happy to see you. Thank you, Lena.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Feel so peaceful. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Oh, it's not gone.